Hey there. Today is October 2nd or 3rd. I think it might be the 3rd. It's Wednesday. And I'm at the beach. Yay. I got here last night, and after spending almost 2 days in the hospital, I've got some really, really excellent news and some really disappointing news for those that haven't been keeping up with what's going on. To recap, last Friday, I think it was, I went online and shot a video live announcing that I was going to get reconnected this coming Friday, my intestines. I did on Friday I went in to the hospital to do a colonoscopy? No, to do a CT scan. And the CT scan was my whole torso from here down to the crotch. There was contrast injected in my arm for all of this, and there was a hose stuck up my butt to inject contrast into the cancer site, or former cancer site. And that hose that was put in, it really hurt. And it was like having an enema, because it lasted all afternoon. I spent pooping out this contrast water, and it really cleaned me out. But to make a longest story short, I had a colonoscopy scheduled for Monday. All of these things were in preparation for the operation that was supposed to happen this Friday. That operation is not happening at this time, because when we did a colonoscopy on Monday, discovered that there is a stricture. What this means is that the colon has started to close up right at the surgical site where the cancer was. And if it had been left to the doctors, and we had, because they wanted me to have this bag, ostomy, ileotomy they call it, for about a year or so, in case they had to go back in or whatever. And I said, I refused that. I was like, no, that's not happening, and I want to move forward with this reconnection as soon as possible. They acquiesced and agreed, and I got this date for this Friday. So all these, he wanted all these tests. He wanted the CT scan to see if there was any cancer still, and he wanted to have eyes on the actual surgical site, because this doctor had taken over for the doctor that was in charge and had performed it and had retired. I was, I think, either his last or second to last patient. So this new doctor, Dr. Lee, wanted to, see what it all entailed. So he went in there, and the diameter of his camera wouldn't fit through the hole. The diameter of his camera was about as big as my pinky, and it wouldn't fit through the colon because it had closed up. And like I said, if I hadn't pushed to get reconnected, then we wouldn't have done this colonoscopy, and the stricture could have closed up before they finally got around to going through the process of reconnecting me and finding out that it had already closed up. which would have required a whole nother operation. I would have had to redo the operation that I had in July. So the bad news, or the sad news, is that the reconnection is not going to happen this Friday, because of the stricture. They kept me over overnight, and then yesterday morning at 11:11 did a procedure to put a pipe, basically they call a stent, in place to hold the colon open and to get the colon to flex. And this stent will most likely be replaced with a larger diameter one, in a few weeks. Once that was in place yesterday, the head of the department actually performed this operation, and he contacted my surgeon, Dr. Lee, yesterday, and let him know that we could probably proceed with what they call the takedown of the colonoscopy in 4 weeks. So I've got a tentative date for November 8th, which means I've got to carry the bag for another month. But at least we're on the friggin' calendar, and it gives me a chance to stretch out my colon. So if we hadn't done this, if we hadn't gone in and discovered that it was closing up and prevented it by putting this, now I've got this metal tube in my ass, holding it open. If they had just taken down the colonoscopy, the colon, the stoma, there was a chance that I'd have another intestinal obstruction, and possibly, literally the colon could explode, and I'd probably be looking at dying again. So the good news is we're all on track. The stent went in yesterday morning. I got released yesterday evening. Thank God. Didn't want to spend another day in the hospital. It was an ordeal. But let me get to the good news. When I got here last night, I finally got a chance to look at they had posted the results of that CT scan. And the good news is it's the best CT scan I've had since I started taking them in 2019. It literally reads like a list of organs and systems, all of which are to the radiologist, they're all quote unquote unremarkable. Meaning that there's no sign of anything notable. There's no sign of any cancer. There's no sign of any other problems, like there's nothing wrong with my kidneys, nothing wrong with my liver. In the past, there's been little polyps or something in the cysts or something, and potential cysts in the liver. There's been stuff in the heart, arteries, but I've been doing things to cleanse those things, eating red foods, drinking pomegranate juice to clean out the circulatory system. So everything's, in theory, or at least on paper, I should say, I'm confirmed to be cancer-free at the moment. It's just confirming what the pathology report said after the operation, and the colonoscopy that they did, it didn't look like there was anything to be concerned about other than the stricture. So everything's pointing towards healthy enough to go forward with takedown, hopefully in a month. Um, and now it's about dealing with having this metal tube in my ass. So the metal tube is right on the edge. So just to be as graphic as I can, just inside of your asshole is one of the highest concentrations of nerve cells in the body. And right above that concentration is where the tube is. So it's right on the edge of that. So what happens is when you go to when you have a healthy colon, your poop goes in there and it pushes up against those nerves and it lets you know that you have to poop. And when you go to poop, those nerves fire off until the poop is completely eliminated, right? Out of the way. Unfortunately, this metal tube is right on the edge of that. And so there's at least the past 24 hours, every couple of hours, it feels like I have to actually poop, even though I can't poop because I still have the ostomy in place, right? So a lot of pain management because this stricture feels like it feels like, oh my God, am I going to have to go, when is this going to stop? It's that level of pain. It's the oh my God pain. And but in working with it the past 24 hours, I've learned that sometimes just repositioning my body the pain will go away. Last night I was using cannabis pills as pain management, and I really needed to calm the fuck down, basically. It was a very trying time staying in the hospital for those 2 days. Case in point, I spent 11 hours in the post-op day before yesterday, because there wasn't a bed, and I got to, through the curtain next to me, I just listened to all the people that got cycled through that post-op unit for 11 hours while I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with, And finally I got into a room that night with 3 other people and all their problems. Just to give you an idea of you hear people's stories. When I was in the post-op, there was a person coming out of anesthesia who was homeless and had been sleeping on the street, and somebody ran over his arm. Yeah, so I'm super sensitive to begin with, listening to all this stuff under my own physically compromised situations. It's a lot. So I've been decompressing from that, knowing that everything I'm going through, I'm not through it all yet. I still have another operation to go through that's going to require me to be in that friggin' hospital for 3 more days of listening to people's stories and trying to heal myself under those conditions. Yesterday morning I woke up with a guy in the bed next to me who's only 3 feet away, turns on his television for the news at 5 a.m, 3 feet away from my head, and so I had to ninja that shit, Zen master that, so that I could get back into my own meditation and in preparation for the procedure to put in the stent, which happened, like I said, at 11:11 yesterday. And so one of the things I want to pass on is I've learned, it suddenly dawned on me yesterday, because I started to get all these master number affirmations, seeing 11:11, and then I saw 606, 505, 909, all these. I overheard this phone number that's 222, all 7s, right? Right before the procedure. I realized that the master number harmonic, which we can tune into by, we just tell ourselves I want to know when 1111, 606, and 1234, 1234 happens. When you start seeing those numbers, it's the universe's way of telling us that we're on time. That no matter what's going on outwardly, we're on our right path. And going through the ordeals that I've been going through, sometimes that's all the affirmation I get is that, I'll see a 606 or whatever, and or 707, and that'll tell me that I'm on time, that I'm right where I'm supposed to be, that what's transpiring is what's meant to be transpiring, So the other major lesson I got yesterday, there were two other major lessons. One was so I got out of the procedure just before 1:00 and had permission for them to discharge me. And it took them till like 5:30 at night before they finally, took the IV out of my hand and I could be on my way. And, dealing with these people, them giving me grief because they think that I'm being a pain in the ass, and me being on their case to, let me out of here for 4 hours, but when they finally realized their mistake, that they were keeping me against what the doctors had ordered, and they had to eat humble pie, I realized that it was shown to me very clearly that so much of the trials that I've been through have been opportunities for me to practice grace. Instead of lording over somebody because they made a mistake that's cost you something, or cost me something, to use that opportunity to demonstrate to myself and to that person grace, forgiveness and understanding that we're all people, and we're all trying our best, and not to hurt them or myself by being angry about it. Can't help but be frustrated, but to not let the frustration take over, take the wheel essentially, and to focus on grace, right? So the other thing that I was practicing yesterday, from on here, day before yesterday, I saw a video about, for those of you that have been following my story for the past year or so, one of the things I learned from doing the chemo was, and it saved my ass on so many occasions, was I could mitigate the effects of the chemo by humming. So I saw this video 2 days ago that humming actually produces, when we hum, we're actually producing nitrous oxide, and that after you've hummed, if you inhale through your mouth, you're inhaling that nitrous oxide, and that is conducive to a trance state. So I was practicing that yesterday morning when they finally came to get me to do the procedure, and it friggin' works. So another benefit of humming, is when you finish to hum, is to breathe, take a breath, take your next breath through your mouth and breathe it in, So I'm here to tell you that shit works. So good to know, and perfect time to practice it, So there's a whole lot. I've got loads more to say, but I don't want to drag this on much longer. I just want to let people know this is kind of a wellness check for people that are wondering. Some folks had seen that I had gone had announced that I was going to get reconnected this Friday. Once again, that's not going to happen. We've got to stretch out my colon. I've got the metal ring in there. It may happen that the reconnection happens first, and then they put in a larger diameter, a greater diameter tube in place, and then the goal being, of course, that those tubes will come out perhaps in a month or two. When they said in a couple of months, I was like, because I don't obviously want to have this bag any longer than is absolutely necessary. So that's what's up. That's what's going on. I'm sure that there's more I'll think of, I should have said afterwards, but I'm going to try to leave it there. Thanks to everyone that has been following along, and especially to those folks that have been that have donated over the year to my GoFundMe, David's Wonder Fund, and all the rest of the those platforms, Cash App and Venmo, and ways for people to send me support, because I was thinking yesterday, on paper it seems that everything's going well, the trend is in the right direction and all that, but in practical terms, every time I've gone to this hospital, I come out with more challenges to overcome. I went into the operation able to walk and fine, and for the most part, but I came out with this bag. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, so now I'm trying to get rid of the bag, and I go into the hospital to get a picture taken, and I come out, now I've got a metal tube in my ass, and having to deal with that. While it on paper everything's moving in the right direction, yippee, in practical terms it feels just like I'm not. I know the edge of the forest is there somewhere. I know it's there, but I'm not there. I'm not seeing it yet. You know what I mean? I know that I've got another dark place to go to ahead. And, it's all about trying to build myself back up so that I'm strong enough to deal with what's about to happen, in a few weeks, hopefully, if all goes well. I've got the next surgical consultation is October 21st, and we'll confirm the November 8th date, but I'm on the calendar for November 8th, reconnecting. And we'll find out about, whether they're going to just take this tube out or put in a larger diameter one at that time, hopefully. And, sorry to say, but, I'm monitoring right now, to make sure that, one, I don't poop out this tube, and two, that it doesn't move and, perforate my colon, hoping that I don't bleed. And I mean, because if I see, any amount of serious blood coming out, I've got to hoof it to the hospital as soon as possible. So yeah, it's on the one hand, everything's moving in the right direction, but on the other hand, it's become more perilous there's no rest here. Things just have to keep moving. So yeah, that's what's up. So once again, thank you very much for paying attention. Thanks for tuning in. I know, some people have said just in the past couple of days, like, I watched your video and you don't look like you're going through all that you're saying you're going through, And what I say to people is, it's because I picked a good moment. I picked my moment so that I wouldn't scare the shit out of people by I want to say this. I want to share something though. Last night especially, because these convulsions, the colon episodes of pain, basically, would come every hour or two, and when it came, it was just so overwhelming that it literally made me gasp out loud in agony. And the sort of pain where you can't see the other side of it. You can't see how it's going to end. And I found myself making these sounds that my grandmother made. I grew up with my grandmother, going through, she survived having a colostomy bag for 38 years, right? So my earliest memories of her were of her when they were figuring out how this technology worked, because she was the third successful colostomy. I keep mentioning that because it keeps coming up, because it's fucking important, to be, a descendant of the person that helped figure out this technology, what worked and what didn't, and she never had the opportunity to be reconnected. So I'm blessed to have that because of her sacrifice. But that said, I found myself making these sounds, that I heard her make, where she would just suddenly she'd hear her gasp out loud and in pain, and you're like, Grandma, is there anything I can? And then she'd be okay, and then again, and at another moment, you'd hear her gasp out loud, and it was, so there I was making the same exact sounds that my grandmother had been making, 50 years ago, so 60 years ago, and 60 years ago. So yeah, that's been, connecting with the ancestors again. I did have a really good dream when I was in the hospital, about my brother. I got to spend time with my brother, who, disowned himself from the family years ago, for reasons that have never been made clear by to any of us. And he changed his name and everything, and I respect his choice to do that, because I found out how he got his name, which he doesn't know. He doesn't even friggin' know the story, but it makes sense that somebody would change their name, and he followed his intuition to do that, and I'm glad that he did, in retrospect. But it's been really tough to go the past 40 years without my brother in my life, so whenever I see him in dreams and stuff, it's like, I don't know, it's a treat, It's like having your favorite dessert, that I get to see him and feel his energy and so forth. And as far as I know, he's still alive. He's 6 years younger than me. I hear he's on the West Coast here somewhere, but, I respect his path, and his decisions to stay at a distance from us for however that's serving him, So, and I look forward to when everything on earth is all said and done, but for all of us, that we get to reconnect and hug it out. you know, and I held no animosity towards him in any way, shape, or form. And I look forward to a time when he does it, when he feels the same, if he ever can. I trust that he will when we see behind the veil, you know. So anyway, I've gone on long enough, and I need to go take care of some more business. So, and then do some more pain management before the next thing. But it does seem like the pain is becoming more manageable. I think it's in large part because of the maybe have been swelling from this putting the ring in and so forth. So I'm hoping that it eases up, and I can again start running on the beach in a day or two. Thought I was going to try today, but probably best to just let it sit for a bit. So anyway, that's what's up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for paying attention. And blessings to all those folks that are dealing with the trials of global warming in the southern states right now, and all the people in the Middle East. This process that we've designed for unfucking the world is a messy one, but it's effective and so necessary. Alrighty, we'll leave it there. Love and light. 404.